It's live. Let me just check. Yeah, we are live now. Right. Thank you all for joining in to today's session of Meet Your Design and Fashion School, where you get to interact with the top management of each school. You keep your options open to private design and fashion schools, and you save money by applying only to a few schools of your choice, right? We don't want you to be considering a lot of schools. What we need you to do is match your personality with the school, right? Every school gives a different experience, and you are here to understand the experience of JSAA today. If you missed my previous webinar on design schools to consider in 2023, you can have a look at that webinar. It's in our YouTube channel. We've also done a webinar on portfolio interview and SOP preparation, right? Now, today we are meeting with Jindal School of Art and Architecture. We have Dr. Joydeep Chatterjee, who is the professor and dean of JSAA. Before we get to him, I'll just give a little introduction to him. So, Professor Joydeep is a double PhD from Cornell University in the history of architecture, urbanism, anthropology, the master's in architecture from the University of Cincinnati, and has studied architecture in Gujarat, his bachelor's of architecture in Gujarat. So Dr. Joydeep is commonly known as the Swiss Army knife, all right? He's a multidisciplinarian. He's an architect, historian, and anthropologist. So his academic inquiries have traversed areas of design, visual culture, technopolitics, social formation of expertise, popular culture, and nationalism. His research has been published across the world. Dr. Joydeep has taught at several universities, including Cornell, University of Cincinnati, University School of Architecture and Planning at Delhi. He also collaborates with various designers, architects, artists, and filmmakers to work on many interdisciplinary projects. All right. At a personal level, he's a sci-fi nerd and he loves to cook and deconstruct everything from restaurant menus to milk cartons. Dr. Joydeep, thanks for joining in. Before I hand it over
to you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let me just tell one last thing. If those who have not applied to JSAA yet, please click on this application link. It's going to be shared in this chat box. It's already in the description of this webinar, of this YouTube webinar. If you want more information about JSAA, you can click on the DQ Edge link. And now over to you, Dr. Joydeep. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Dion. Thank you so much for having me here. Right. What I'm going to do is, can I show a little presentation? Do I have the power to do that? Yeah. Can I share my screen? Can you enable my screen sharing?
Just done that. Done that.
Sure. So while you do that, I'm going to give a little bit of a presentation about something called the orange economy. And what I'm going to talk about is what we at the JSA are doing to prepare students for that, right? And how are we? So it's kind of going to take you a little bit through the journey of the school. What are we doing now? What do we plan to do? How do we do things and all of that, right? So, all right, just give me a second. All right, great. I can share things. I wonder if you can see my presentation.
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So that's what it is, right? It is something I've got. The orange economy, what is it? And how creativity and creative professionals are integral to an orange future, right? So the first question is, what is an orange economy? This is interesting. Not many people have heard of it, right? But let me give you some idea about what it is, right? It's essentially an economy, and it includes all sectors whose goods and services are based on intellectual property. So all kinds of creative fields are part of this. So advertising, architecture, craft, design, fashion, film, video games, music, publishing, research and development, software, digital realms, what is called the metaverse, what is called augmented reality, extended reality, media, all of this, visual and performing arts, all of this is part of it. And guess what? It's about 6.1% of the world's economy in 2005. You know, what does that mean? Let me give you some numbers here. It means it's more than $4.3 trillion in 2005. It's 2.5 times the world's military expenditure. So it's bigger than the arms economy in the world, right? Right? It is bigger than the German economy in the world. And yet we are not doing anything about this. Okay? We contribute, I mean, this creative economy, right? It's contributing more than 2.2 trillion. It is 230% the value of all oil exports. So it's bigger than the oil economy. Really, did you realize that, Dion? I'm really going to ask you that question, that the creative economy is actually bigger than the oil economy, and it's 2.3 times bigger than the oil economy. And we hear so much about the oil economy, but we don't hear about the creative economy.
Yeah, that's something that's completely new to me.
Right? It's 2.3 times. That's how big this is. All right. So here's the next question, right? Why does it get so little attention that Dion, who is part of a leading, training institute for students of design, why you were like, okay, why is this news to you too? Right? Very, very simple. You see, the creative fields, right? And all of this, it's not very easy to define at one level, right? And it requires a kind of rethinking of how we understand what is knowledge, right? And how we understand and how we train ourselves for the future, right? Now, it involves all of these different fields. I'm not going to go through them again, but look at it very carefully. You will see things like visual, you'll see like architecture, you'll see the gastronomy, you'll see multimedia, you'll see video gaming, you'll see the media support industry, the publishing. These are all of these kind of things. Some are older stuff and some of these newer stuff. What is critical about this economy, right, is this. It is not the strongest who survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most adaptable to change. So what is going to define this creative economy, Dion, is fundamentally that the kind of people who are able to change most often. In fact, a very interesting quote comes to my mind, from the New York Times, it's a couple of years ago. He said, our children are going to be working on problems that we have no idea about, using tools that we have no idea about, right? So given this kind of a future, right? So the skill set that's required and the kind of imagination that's required for this orange economy, right, is something that Charles Darwin said a long time ago, that it is not the strongest who survive, not the most intelligent who survive, but the ones most adaptable to change, the ones who are able to adapt themselves, to understand things as they change more, right? And this, in a certain sense, Leon, is the crux of the kind of training that we need for the orange economy. A few years ago, this was a book that had come out in India called College, A Pathways of Possibility. And it made a somewhat similar argument. It said that, look, going ahead, what we need are students who are fundamentally interdisciplinary students. In fact, Soikot had argued that they have to be students who are what are called T-shaped graduates. Right? So what is the T shape? The T shape is that the short arm of the T, right, is what connects you to different disciplines, and the long arm of the T is what grounds you in particular discipline. And that's one of the things that we do at JSAA, right? We kind of started off with this idea of the school, right? So we were the only sort of design school, architecture school, which started off by saying, hey, we're going to give you a major area of study, yes. But what we're also going to give you is a minor area of study, right? And very interestingly, right, this, in a sense, is what would allow our students to take not only to define themselves not only as one kind of a professional, but somebody who's working at the intersections of multiple things. So, whether it's housing, it's policy, it's land, it's justice, it's questions of resilience, it's questions of transformation, questions of, all together, right, through interrelated means. Right. So what is it that we have at JSAA, right? So we have the Bachelor's of Architecture, which is a 5-year course. We have something called the BA Honors Built Environment Studies. This is a very, very interesting course. It is a course now, which has now become a 3+1+2. And it is you do 3 years at Jindal, then you do 1 year in a partner university abroad, for example, in Adelaide. And then you do a 2-year master's at the same university. And then so you get 2 bachelor's degree, 1 master's degree, and then you get 3 years of professional optional training in that country, a work permit in that country, right? Okay, then we have something called the Bachelor's of Design, which is in interior environments, a Bachelor of Design in community and urban environments, and something we are especially interested in. And I'll talk about that in a single second, but I want to talk about the minors. The minors that you can do currently are liberal arts, law school, business school, banking and finance, journalism and communication, international affairs, and many more, right? Now, the majors as they happen in the next 4 years, and this is the one that we are releasing this year, and we've in fact done a soft launch for it, is something called immersive and digital and virtual environments, right? Now, this is the future. Right? Think about it in a certain way. You think of a game, you think of media, you think of smart cities, you think of augmented reality, you think of all of that. All of that is a part of this course. It is basically virtual environments that you're doing, right? And then there are other things that JSA is getting into, right? And more minors are increasing, right? What's also interesting is the kind of way which we at JSAA do our coursework, Dion. And this is unlike anything that you have in the rest of the country, right? So one of the basic things is that we talk about what we call a flexible and customizable program, right? What that means is, again, keep in mind that we are training people for that orange economy in which the idea is to create students who are most adaptable to change. Now, if that's the idea, why should we have a curriculum which is standard for everyone, right? One of the things that you can do in JSA is you can pretty much come in and design your own curriculum, and students do it all the time, right? We just give you a bouquet and you kind of adjust it how you want to, right? That's something that all students do, right? Number 2, what we really encourage people to do is to understand and solve problems to real life projects, right? And where you learn by making right. So these are examples of our students doing things in real life with real clients, real vendors, real stakeholders, real, other kinds of consultants, and you actually produce something by the end of it, right? Going back to this idea of major and minor, and here I want to elaborate it a little more. So, let's look at it. Let's say you have somebody who's doing a major in community, and you do a minor in journalism and media. Suddenly, you're just not an urban designer or a community designer. You have all of these other things that open up to you, right? You can think of becoming an international aid worker. You can think of becoming an experience designer, a strategic planner, and all of that, right? Or maybe you're doing an urban design as your major, that long arm of the T, right? But the short arm of the T you're doing as government and policy studies. Suddenly, a whole lot of different kind of coursework opens up. One more example, right? I mean, so here's an example of a student who was at JSAA. She came in, Bachelor's of Architecture, very interested in minor of liberal arts. All of these jobs became open to her, like a historic district manager or a social science researcher or a development project. But what interested her was actually architectural writing. And suddenly, and while she was in her 3rd year, and now she's in her 5th year, she has been working for Rethinking the Future, an MNC which blogs on architecture in all over the world. And Asta has been doing this while she has been a student, right? She's already working on all of this. All right. Now, the idea here is very simple. The major minor combinations while you come in thinking you're going to do 1 degree, actually gives you over 65 degree combinations and 500 courses to choose from, right? So it just throws open what you can do, right? Very, very important is that if you're going to be somebody who's going to be adaptable to change, somebody who's going to have to look at multiple ways of doing things, you've also got to learn from a faculty that's incredibly interdisciplinary themselves, but also are globally trained, right? That's one of the things that we do at JSA, right? We have faculty from all over the world who have come to become a part of JSAA. So, we have architects, yes, we have interior designers, we have, urbanists, but we have engineers, we have geographers, we have anthropologists, we have conservationists, we have historians, we have lawyers, we have artists, name it. They're from all different disciplines, right? Who come, we have, and they come from all over the world, right? From Cornell, from Berkeley, from Cincinnati, from Harvard, NYU, Oxford, Heidelberg, Polytechnic Milan, Max Planck, University of Göttingen, Jamia, Tokyo University. This is the highest proportion of PhD holders in any school of art and architecture or design school. Highest proportion of faculty, which is completely international. 85 to 90% of our faculty is internationally trained and has taught all over the world. What this means is not only that you get this kind of a training by people who are themselves trained there, but also you develop international networks, Dion, right? Because all my friends in all of us, we're all connected all over the world, right? And that, in fact, is something I'll talk about in a bit. But before I do that, it's this idea of our industry connection that we do. There's something very interesting, right? Now, JSA has a very, very multi-dimensional, multi-opportunity-based kind of internship industry connect program, right? I mean, so there is something, the internship, but there's something called externship, right? And there's something called knowledge sharing. Now, I'll briefly talk about the internship because I really want to talk about the externship. And the internship is very simple. We have multiple internships for them. Students earn up to 12 non-academic credits, right? We have more than 75, 80 companies who are a part of our portfolio, and it's always growing. And these are companies from all over the world. They are, and all kinds of companies. There are not-for-profits, there are for-profits, there are Fortune 500 companies, there are think tanks, there are, research tanks, all kinds of places which are a part of us, right? And some of, these are some of their testimonials by the students, and then also by the companies themselves, right? This is their kind of thing, what they have done. Now, this is what I'm actually very, very interested in, because this is a very unique thing in terms of JSAA. Now, one of the things that we started thinking was, all right, it's fine that our students do internship when they go, during the break, but what about during the term, right? How can we bring the industry onto the campus itself? So what we did was something unique. We approached all of our partner companies and we said, okay, can you offer a class or a little module or something like a live project for our students? And can they work on these projects with you while they are in school? And can we give them academic credits for it? And the company said, this is fantastic. We had never realized this, that we could do something like this, right? So let me give you a couple of examples, right, that happened. So here's a case of something like Jugadupolis, right? Jugadupolis is a company that is run by two conservation architects, right? Aishwarya Tipnis, Hina Devi Singh. Now, Aishwarya and Hina got this fantastic grant from the European Union where they were supposed to essentially map the cultural and culinary heritage of Kashmir. They were like, okay, we need certain skill sets of people to be able to do this. They brought this project to our students, right? And our students worked with them throughout, they've been working with them for the last 1 year on this project, right? What's very interesting is finally, they also, because the work that got done, there's something called the Restoration Toolbox, which is the first ever toolbox on conservation design built with public participation, which is going to be put up on the web on the 19th of April. Not only that, based off this, JSA students JSA, the school, and Jugadupolis, the company, we won the next EU grant. And we are holding the biggest conference on conservation design in September in the country, which has the French government involved in it, which has JSA, which has Jugadupolis, which has firms from EU involved in it. It's a big thing. Our students are working on things like that. Here's another example, Kala Chopal. They had gotten a project to basically create a Bulandshahr Legacy Festival. Our students worked on all of that. They created, I'm just going to play it. They created biodiversity maps. They created this thing. They created libraries. They created wayfinding exercises. They created flora maps. They created an arts and crafts heritage exhibition. Indeed, even this website. All right. The students were working on this while they are on campus. One last example you see here is something called the builders, right? So a school in Aligarh, required zero carbon footprint building. And they got this idea to our students. Our students worked on this project and they created a complete prototype and all drawings and 3D model, all of it for the school. And in fact, the students have won a competition, also as a result of this, right? So this is all kinds of things that happen, right? I'm not going to play this because this is kind of longer, but this is how the industry is constantly a part of the school. It's happening while we are studying. And then there's the knowledge exchange program. We have more than 100 lectures every semester, every year, Dion, that happens, right? That's more than 2 to 3 lectures every week. Right? From people from all industries who come in constantly. They come and take master classes, they come and take workshops, they come and take, lectures and things like that, right? And they come from everything, so artists, filmmakers, urbanists, photographers, historians, culinary artists, just name it, energy specialists, everybody comes, right? Conservationists, right? And from all over the world. They come, right? Again, this is very, very important. Why? Because our faculty is from all over the world, Dion. So our connections are all over the world. It's very easy for us to pull in people from all over the world who come into this, right? Now, finally, and this is kind of also something very interesting, is the global initiatives that we bring. Now, I talked about it in terms of how the school is doing through just the faculty connections. But, as a university, we have more than 250 connections with the best universities in the world. And JSA students become eligible for all of these. So there are things like semester exchanges. There are short-term study abroad programs. There are degree projections. I just talked about the Adelaide University right at the beginning, right? You do 3 years here, 1 year there, 2 years there, right? There are things like that. There's short-term study abroad. You go for 10 days, you go for 15 days, right? There are things like that. There are semester exchange abroad where you go and spend 1 semester abroad. And again, 250 universities over the world. There are semester exchange programs. There are joint studio programs. I'll just give you one example. Right now, we are working with the University of Virginia. We are going to launch on the largest kind of mapping project of Sonipat in terms of water, in terms of urban hygiene, in terms of conservation, in terms of interiors, in kind of toilet design, in terms of basic sanitation, in terms of safety, all of this. And these are 3 universities which are involved. Jindal, JSAA, Jindal University, University of Virginia, and Tulane University. So students of all of these and faculty of all of these universities are going to come together and work in our backyard in Sonipat, right? It's going to happen over the summer. It's going to happen over the winter. It's going to happen during the semester, right? So there's something called the World Cities program, right? Where students go on trips to certain cities all over the world. I talked about the semester abroad. I talked about the semester exchange. Research programs, very, very important. We have many cases. Just one example, right? We have students who are they do something called the ICBE. Let me just talk about that, right? I mean, here is the ICBE. Now, the ICBE is a student-led international conference on the built environment, and students from all over the world come and present in this. And this is led by our students at JSAA. So, right, student research is presented. But you know what? Student research is also something that is very much encouraged, because our faculty, whatever research that they're doing, students work on that research with them, right? So this is kind of the call for papers. And then I'm just going to end, Dion, talking about the kind of resources. We have a state-of-the-art campus. We have some fantastic studio spaces, wonderful kind of a 8,000 square feet fabrication lab where you can work with wood, metal, or any material that you want to. We are especially, we've got power tools, hand tools, casting, to all kinds of things. Huge workshops that are there, Dion. But what we are especially proud of, this latest thing that we are doing, it's like a complete digital environments lab, with virtual reality, with, body suits and things like that, all kinds of high-tech stuff, which will allow you to participate fully into this next level of designing, which we call immersive and digital environments, Dion. So I'm going to stop there, and, hopefully, answer some questions that people may have. Right. So I'm going to switch off the presentation, Dion, and is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks,
All right.
Thanks for that, Joydeep. Very interesting presentation. And while the audience, types their questions in, I was actually particularly happy to see Aditya Singh there. He's a DQ Lab student, former DQ Lab.
Right.
And I saw that he
Aditya is doing good. He's doing good. This is the interesting thing. I mean, Aditya, he's in his 4th year now, right? And
Yeah.
Aditya has just published a paper. He's published that's what I mean. Our 4th year students, Dion, are publishing papers. And I'll give you another very interesting thing. One of our other 4th year students, she went for this. I'm especially proud of it. She went for a conference to BITS Pilani. She's a 4th year student, mind my words. And this is what she got asked. So which PhD program are you in? They accepted her paper at a PhD conference. She was in her 4th year of undergraduate. That is the level of students right now. This is fantastic what's happening. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And it's interesting. You know what? A couple of things I'd like to mention. When I came there, when I visited JSA, I actually saw the projects which students were working on, and students like across batches were working on live projects from year 2, which I thought was very interesting. And the diversity of the flexibility of your T-shaped curriculum,
It's there. See, Dion, after the first year, basically, students choose their own curriculum. See, in design school and in any school, in fact, we talk of peer learning, but, we never actually institutionalize that. What we've done in JSA is actually institutionalize that. See, the point is, and you have been in you've seen, you worked with designers for so long. A lot of learning happens by working with your peers, right? Working with your seniors, working with your things. So one of the things we asked was, why can we not institutionalize this? Right? And we said, great. And so we said, after your first year foundation, no more horizontal years, right? You can choose whatever coursework you want to do, right? And as a result, what is happening is precisely this. So we have a second year student who sits with a 4th year student, and they are working like a 4th year is working like a senior designer, second year is working like a junior designer, and the faculty is working like a lead designer. It's really like a firm that is working, and it happens. But what is also, I think I just want to take a minute to add, what's interesting is it's not only about this verticality, Dion. The idea, for the life of me, I could not ever understand. We talk about creativity, we talk about all of these things, and why every other college and everything, when we were getting trained, and even today, why do they all have the same curricula that everybody has to take in the same way? Why do we not recognize that Dion may have a set of interests which he wants to follow? Azad may have a different set of interests than that, and Joydeep may have a different set of interests than that. The minute you follow what your interest is, basically you are creating the best version of yourself, right? Because you are taking what you are interested in. You are not taking what somebody else is asking you to, right? And why I cannot understand is why creative schools or creative schools which say that, okay, we are teaching creative education, that this is the only way to do it. Why do even they say that everybody has to take the same course? Then how are you making people creative is what I don't understand, right? If I tell that Dion has to do the same thing that Azad has to do, as that Joydeep has to do, that doesn't make sense to me, right? Because one of the things about this creative economy and this, what we like to call this orange economy, is this question of becoming somebody who's nimble, who's constantly on your feet. You can change, right? So you have to get your education also like that. If I make your education straight jacketed, you become a straight jacketed person, right? But if I give you education enough for you to be somebody who can literally dance around, then that's how your brain functions. That's how you work. That's the kind of professional you become. And that's what's needed in the future, right? Sorry, please.
And really, I mean, from what I saw, at least what caught my eye was Aditya working with WWF, right?
Yes.
Conservation.
Yes.
That's something very different from what a regular design school or an architecture aspirant would really work with. How many would work with conservation?
No, here's the interesting thing. See, that's the other thing, Dion, which is very big. We think design meaning you go and work in the interior firm or this firm or that firm. No. Designing is way beyond all of that. Designing is a fundamental aspect of being human in a certain sense, right? It is the ability, and I'm going to go out on a limb and kind of define it at one level, or at least give you what I think it is. It is the ability to ask certain kinds of questions and formulate certain kind of questions so that problems can be solved, right? No, this is a skill which is required everywhere. Today, we think of something called design thinking, but excuse me, designers have been doing design thinking for the longest time, right? But then only today now there's a recognition that no, you can have design even in policy making. I'll give an example of this, okay? One of my former students, Harish, they are one of the most, I think I've introduced you to them now. This way, Harish, you met them. What are they? They are students, right? They are an award-winning design firm in this country right now. In fact, I just gave a talk for their firm the other day, right, on AI and all of that. Right now, what are Harish working on? They're working on something called legal design. Now you're like, Dion, Joydeep, what is legal design? Well, let me tell you something. One of the very interesting emerging disciplines is legal design. What is this? See, law and legal language is so tough, none of us can understand what is it that we are doing. Right. So tomorrow Dion goes to a hospital and, suddenly you are given a form and you're asked to tick box on 150 items. Right. You don't know what you're signing away. You might be signing away your own organs. You see what I'm saying? No, it's a real issue, Dion. And later on, you realize that there are back and forths that happen between, somebody's suing, the client is, all of this is happening. Right. So what they are realizing is that to avoid this, what can we do? Right. We can simplify what the language of law is, and create a kind of legal design where a layperson can begin to understand things of the law. Simple. Legal design. I'll give you another example of something like this. We are working with the National Institute of Urban Affairs to create something called a digital version of building bylaws in this country. Right? Now you say, what? No, this is basically digital design. Now, what is it that we are doing? We are saying, you go to any person who wants to make a building. You say, okay, I want to make a building. They'll give you the National Building Code. You take one look at that document. You're like, Baba, I don't want to do anything. This is 350-page document which nobody understands. The people who have made it don't understand. The people who are signing it don't understand. The municipalities don't understand. And that is why we have a situation where our cities are in the mess that they are in. Right? What are we changing? right? Look at this, very interesting. We are combining policy. This is policy, basically, building policy, building laws, and we are taking all of that and we are turning them into interactive, immersive environments so that tomorrow you don't have to go and read the document. You just have to say, oh, if I want to make a building here, what is the kind of opportunities that are available to me? You put on a goggles, it will tell you. You see, what I'm saying is what we understand by design. I mean, today we had just one last example. Today we had somebody who had come in. Now he started saying, he's working in the area of healthcare design, right? And what is it he working on? He just said, look, one of the problems is that diabetics need to take their medicine on time. Second problem is most diabetics are above 60, 65. So they have a problem of forgetting. How can we create environments where the environment will remind you to take your medicine? So then when I started talking about our immersive digital environment, he said, Johnny, that's what we are trying to do. I said, well, I understand because that's the future, where you basically realize what's called the Internet of Things. Everything is talking to every other thing. So if we think today that Aditya, who's doing architecture, is going to go and work in the building construction industry, you are mistaken. Aditya is therefore working with World Wildlife Fund and working on policy design, which is a completely future-oriented thing, right? And in fact, that's the beauty of what we are trying to do through this major-minor thing. Yep. We have students, Dion, who are combining international affairs with design. And I'm like, I did not know that is possible, but they are doing it.
So this brings me to the question which Gyanesh is asking, Joydeep. He says, yes, it'll be helpful if you can share a deeper understanding of your plans and vision for the immersive program, the immersive design program.
Okay, so Gyanesh, wonderful question. The immersive design program is something like this. There's the examples that I was giving you, Gyanesh, are precisely examples of the immersive digital program. Please understand this. Today, we exist in a world which is fundamentally mediated by technology, right? So what is, when people say what is smart, we are talking about smart cities. So what is smart? Smart is essentially one thing. When everything around you has an IP address, right? What does that really mean? It means today we are living in a world where where your city, where your own home will actually have also a kind of a simulated home, which is overlaid on top of it, so that today, somewhere sitting remotely, you can do what you want with it. But not only you, let's say the municipality can say, oh, in that particular area of the city, something is not working. We can fix it from here. Today, I don't need to make an actual infrastructure in order to understand how that infrastructure will handle, because now I can digitally simulate everything. You see, I'll give you another very interesting example. One of the biggest simulations that is required over the last 2 years is, you know what? Two things. How did disease flow through our city? Because we had no idea how Corona was going. Now, this was an immersive digital exercise. How does medical services, which is an infrastructure component, work in a city if an epidemic comes? You do realize this is all can now be done digitally. So the world is going somewhere else, Ganesh, in terms of how we are figuring. This digital environments program is your ability to digitally recreate environments from the level of the city to the level of the human body, right? And it will allow you to apply your kind of a skill in infrastructure design, in healthcare, in public health, in management, in product, in architecture, in video gaming, in the media industry, everywhere that you can imagine. I hope that gives a little bit of a clarity, Dion.
Certainly does.
Okay.
So there's another question there. We covered this partly. If you can also share more on the internship opportunities, infrastructure, and the overall areas of coverage which include 3D animation, photography, filmmaking, etc.
All right. So whoever asking that question, please understand.
Ganesh is
Yeah,
asking.
all right, Ganesh, all right, Ganesh, our internships are very much like everything else. It's very much curated to people, right? I'll give you an example. After the first year, all our students are asked to fill in a internship map, right? Which includes, oh, I want to work in this area, this area, this area. We actually curate all of this for our students, right? See, nothing is like a one size fits all in JSAA. Right, so we have that's the discussion we were having, right? When we talked about somebody like Aditya, who said, I'm very interested in working on design, but I'm also interested in working at it with those who are working on environment and sustainability issues, right? So we curated his experiences to work with companies like WWF, to work with companies like Kala Chopal, to work with companies, like the Green Building Foundation of India, right? So the idea is that every student, and what happens is you have to complete 12 non-academic credits of internship, which means a minimum of 24 weeks of internship while you study with us. But that's just the internship. I just talked about something called the externship, right? Which is a part of the Industry Connect, which is every student has to do a minimum of 12 academic credits of externship, which means 180 additional hours of working with companies even while you are studying, right? Which is your externship. That's the minimum that you have to do. Please understand that, right? And then you are getting through all of these dimensional, sort of multi-pronged kind of a practice. You are getting connected and your networks are building. And then there is this knowledge sharing thing that we talked about, right? Where every week, Ganesh, you have people from all over the world, from multiple industries coming in, giving you lectures, talking to you, interacting with you, holding master classes with you, holding workshops with you, you name it, right? So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea. The best part is you begin to transform and select your own experiences. Please understand that. That is what is critical for us. Yeah.
All right. Um, right. No more questions in yet.
Okay.
But if anyone would like to ask questions, please do. Now, one question for Azad at this stage, right? Azad, the fee structure is 3 lakhs for your
Bachelor design programs.
Bachelor design, okay, BDES programs, and then the hostel facilities is added.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So yeah, so could you just elaborate a little more on
Of course. So for the bachelor design
the
programs,
hostel, whatever
yes.
is included.
So at JGU, since it is a 100% residential campus, so all 10,000 students are currently we are hosting in the campus. The tuition fee for all our 3 bachelor design program is 3 lakh per annum. Additionally, you need to pay 2,92,500 for your annual hostel charges. That includes, I'll give you a breakup. It's a triple sharing large size room with the attached washroom, 24/7 electricity, super high speed Wi-Fi and air conditioning. The campus also has one of the best health infrastructure, which has a minor OT, ICU unit, and female meal separate wards. 4 ambulances, high-tech ambulances, all time available. So you also get to be treated by our in-house doctors. Additionally, all the laundry facilities are included in your hostel charges, and we have introduced our horse riding courses in these sports, and all like swimming pool, all indoor and outdoor sport facilities, membership in the gym, all inclusive in your 2,92,500. That is payable semester wise.
Can I add a bit to that, Dion?
Sure, sure.
You know, you can think of this campus, which is about 100 acres or so, as a huge township. I mean, Azad mentioned that, but we have this state-of-the-art student center that's there, which has got like restaurants and all kinds of things that you can imagine, right? But we've got a fantastic movie theater, which is part of it, right? Then there's a huge sports complex, with an Olympic-sized pool that's there, right? I mean, name it. You've got restaurants, 7, 8 restaurants on campus, right? So this is a fully self-sustained kind of a campus, which has got everything. It's got like 7, 10 playgrounds on it, it's got gyms all over. I mean, you just name it. It's like a huge township, which has got
it's a kind of a township.
Yeah.
You don't have to look forward for any other thing outside.
You basically don't have to do anything outside of it. It's like it's huge, this kind of thing. And believe you me, Dion, the facilities are absolutely world class, right? Because part of it is listen. Let me give a larger idea about JGU. There is a reason why the university has been recognized as an institution of eminence by the Indian government, right? There's a reason why the QS rankings have called it the #1 private university in the country right now, right? And there's a reason why it's one of the most highly ranked universities from India in the QS world rankings, right? JGU as a university is really at that global scale, right? So here's the question I think students have to ask themselves. Do we want an experience which is fundamentally international, right? It is called Jindal Global University for a certain reason, right? Do we want an experience which is global, right? If that is what, in a certain sense, because from the faculty to the coursework, to the infrastructure, to the campus experience. Do you see what I'm saying? All of it is carefully curated to give you that kind of a seamless global experiences, right? You become a part of that larger global community that is there, if that makes sense, Dion, right?
Absolutely. There's a question from Rakesh Goidani, who's asking, is the fee structure for B.Arch as well? Is it the same fee structure?
It's 4 lakh rupees per year.
It's a little different. It's 4 lakh rupees per year for this, and for the BA built environment services also, it's slightly different for that, because that is also part of the fact that you are getting a degree from Jindal, you're getting a degree from Adelaide, and then you're getting a master's degree from Adelaide, right? And the interesting thing is you get the license to practice not only in Australia and India, but all other Commonwealth countries. So, that's a slightly different kind of a fee structure too, right?
Okay. Question from Deepak Jain. Okay.
Please.
Can you give some details about job opportunities post BDES? What was the maximum and minimum salary offered? What kind of companies have visited the campus?
Okay. I'll give you a little bit of a thing. Can I tell you something? We are a new school, right? So our BDES batch is graduating this year. The 4th year is going out this year. The idea is not about, as I've said, all our students are already working with these top companies. You made a note of something like WWF. There's PwC in there. There's ORF. There's GIZ, right? Please understand this. And I'm going to say this out front to all parents, we are not a placement agency. We are a university. We get them the best of the places and the best of the companies. Really, they intern on it, right? What kind of fees do they get? What kind of things did they get? Well, we'll get to know once they go out. But let me tell you this, our students are really working with the best companies all over the world already. right? That's the kind of places that they're interning with. They are going to the best universities in the world. That's the kind of things that we are doing, right? So we'll be able to give you this information a little on later, a couple of months down the line, right? Okay.
All right. All right. Okay. I'm guessing that's about it, right? But the essence I got from your last answer, Joydeep, is that your focus is on the academics for sure, certainly. Your
Yes.
focus is on diversifying the opportunities that each of your students is getting or looking out for. And possibly, could you cover an area of how you would enable them to look out for their own opportunities, right? To reach out to industry and create opportunities for them. Could you cover that a little bit?
So, can I do that? All right. Now, Dion, like I said, through this internship programs, the kind of networks that they build are immense, right? Imagine today where you from your second year are working with a company like WWF or PwC, ORF or SATO in Korea, or CBRE in Australia, right? You're already creating these kind of networks as an educational institution. That is what we see primarily as our job, right? The idea is not, right, to act as a job placement. Do you see what I'm saying? I really want to, don't get me wrong, and maybe some parents are going to get offended by this, and I'm okay. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be okay with saying this. You're catching the wrong end of the stick, right? A university's job is not to get you a 6-month placement and then at the end of the day see that your child is out of it or not. The university's job is to train them to be leaders of the future and be game changers and disruptors in the area which they are going out, right? That's the job we are under, right? We are not really, that's why we don't take 500 students at JSA, Dion. We don't. We have a 1:10, 1:9 student ratio. We are going to produce 100 students who are going to change the industry tomorrow, right? That's why they are going to those companies and interning, right? So you've got to ask yourself, is that what you're looking for out of your education? Right? I liked how you started your say. You said, look, you've got to understand which university you want to go to. Right? And I want to encourage those who want to come to JSA to think of themselves that what is it that we are looking for? If you are looking for an education that is absolutely cutting edge, right, which is going to prepare you to work with the best, to go and compete with the best, jobs will happen. Right? Then JSA is the place for you. Right? I'm going to say something which my father used to tell me, and hopefully it'll pass on to children. He says, make yourself so good that money will run after you, not that you will run after money. Right? I still live by it, Dion. And I'm hoping the future generations learn to live by it too. Because really, that's what matters. Right? We are trying to make you into some of the top leaders of this field of design, built environment, architecture, this orange economy that we are talking about. Right? And we promise you we will do that. You will get the best internships. You will get to learn from the best. You will get the most cutting edge kind of coursework. Right? You will get to become a game changer in that discipline and work with the best. How much you make is up to you after that. Right? Okay.
All right. There's one question from Bindu V, who's
Please.
asking, how does a student cover the credits for internship in the timeline? Any assistance is given for the same?
Yes, a lot of assistance, Bindu. A lot of it. We have an entire section of the school which is called the the JSA Office of Industry Interface, but we also have something called Office of Career Services. We have something called which helps you with Office of Graduate Studies. At every stage with the students, we actually have multiple kind of digital interfaces where you as a student fill in your interest, and there are mentors who guide you through this process, right? But who tell you, who map, right? So I'll give you a very small example. Let's say I am somebody, and I'm in my second, I've finished my foundation year and my first chance for internship has come up. And so what a form is going to go out to you, right? And that form is going to ask you, what are you interested in? What are the areas you would like to intern in? What are the kind of companies you would like to intern in? What are the kind of duration you want to give? Now, all of that is done. Once we figure all of that out, we hold workshops. You are given what is called training on, hey, how to give the elevator pitch. How do you prepare a resume? How do you prepare a CV? How do you prepare a portfolio? How do you give what's called the hook speech, right? How do you, go and give an interview, right? All of this, everything is carefully curated, carefully mentored and done, Bindu, right? All throughout. And this is not just once. This is throughout your entire time you are here. All of these are organized as workshops, and specialists and people come and help you with all of these kind of things, right?
Right. Joydeep, thank you so much for
My pleasure, Dion.
the questions. Azad, thanks a lot for making this happen. Azad, can you just, for the benefit of everyone here, just inform when the last date for applications are?
Absolutely. So all those who are appearing to our Jindal Creative Aptitude Test, which is scheduled on 18th to 20th of April, the last date to apply for all our BDS program is 17th of April. And all those who will qualify in the written test will be invited virtually for the interview and portfolio on 29th and 30th of April. All those who have the dates clashing with the NID Studio test maybe get another date for the portfolio and interview. Before that, we are inviting all those interested students and the parents to join us in the open house scheduled on 15th of April, Saturday at 7 o'clock. That's on Zoom, where you will have the opportunity to meet Dr. Chatterjee once again and all his senior academic leadership team at one place to clear all your career-related questions and doubts.
All right. So as soon as you share that with us, the details for the open day, we will share that with the
Absolutely.
students. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks once again, and looking forward to more interactions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care.